Hey Planet Watchers, good to be here with you. Hope you guys can hear me and see me correctly, which would be a first. I was able even to start on time, and it's again a great achievement probably. So tonight we have a lots of things to discuss. I got a very large number of questions, which is great. So I'll do my best to answer all questions. First thing first, let me greet in particular our French audience. Today is 14th of July, it's a national day in France. So it's good to say hello to French audience and to say that we will soon make our website multilingual. So that will include for sure French and also other languages. Bon, donc bonsoir à toutes et à tous. Je vous souhaite un très bon, joyeux 14 juillet. Et comme je le disais, on va bientôt publier des versions en français et dans d'autres langues de notre site web, de tous nos blog posts, de toutes nos communications. Donc à très bientôt en français. Okay, so having said that, I have a huge list of questions in front of me. I'll do my best to answer everything. Before getting into it, maybe it would be nice to share with you a sneak peek into one of the things we've been working on. So sometimes feedback to customer support inquiries has been not fast enough probably, but I can assure you we are working to deliver an awful lot of items and things. I want to just share for 10 seconds a preview of the new PlanetWatch global map, which caters for a number of requests that we received from you guys. So hopefully now you can see from my screen a PlanetWatch global map, which is quite different from the previous one, because for one thing, you can see all the sensors in the PlanetWatch network. All the sensors means including the Type 4 Atmotube Pro sensors, for example. So you see the US are very well populated without Atmotube Pro sensors. And there will be a number of menus and options enable you to zoom in, obviously, and to toggle between all sensors, outdoor sensors, which is what you used to see on the previous version of the map, zooming in and everything, plus additional menus for the sensor that you own. So when there is no issue there is no privacy issue, so we can show you all the details for your own sensors, obviously. So your indoors, your outdoors, and your wearables. So again, that was just a sneak peek. This is one of many things we are working to deliver as soon as possible. The other ones being a new version of the app, and there will be soon a blog post. The app will be first released in a closed beta version, and then a few days later will be fully published. And then we have a new Planet Explorer. We have a number of software items which have been quite challenging and work intensive. So we're trying to do everything as fast as possible, and all in all, I think we are moving along well. So, okay, let's get back to the questions and to the general information. Okay, so as I said, we got over 60 questions to answer, and I've done my best to group them into sections. So the first section I want to get into is section about questions about sensors, obviously. And we got lots of questions about all the types of sensors. So starting from type 1, which at the moment means the Arduino sensor, the key questions were the following. Somebody was asking whether we'll be able to deliver a version with solar panels included. Okay, let me first clarify that we are not the maker of this device. So technical improvements really depend on the manufacturer. We've discussed this with a manufacturer, solar panel scenario. It could end up quite expensive, but nonetheless they're studying it and they're working on it. Second question, can I use Arduino indoors in case of severe weather? Well, the answer, sorry, is no, because that device is meant to provide information about outdoor air quality. So if you have a storm outside, just turn it off for a few minutes. Next question about this sensor is, of course, in terms of availability, in particular in the US. So as I also said last time, the bottleneck for sensor availability in this case is compliance. And again, getting the required certification for the USA and for Canada and for any other country for that matter outside Europe is really in the hands of manufacturers. I'm talking to them every day by and large, so they hope to get it done, the FCC compliance by October. But unfortunately, we can give no guarantee because they cannot give any guarantee. But I mean, they know that it's in the best interest not only of PlanetWatch but of their own companies to get it clear for the US. So I'm fairly sure that by October we will have a US compliant version of the device. And once compliance is sorted out, I believe we can supply several hundreds of sensors in a first batch and then match demand, as far as I can guess. Now, coming back to the Arduinos which have been pre-ordered for Europe through the license system, one of the questions was, how much time do I have? When will you notify when I can buy Arduino? And how much do I have to order it? Now, to make it easy and fair at the same time for everybody, we've decided to give you 1 week. So as soon as we are ready to sell and ship, you will receive an email notification, and we will have then 1 week to complete your purchase. If you don't complete within 1 week, then you lose your spot on the waiting list, and it's given obviously to the next one in line. Again, Arduino deliveries, which for the time being it's only for Europe, will follow the order of purchase of Type 1 licenses on our PlanetWatch.io website. Okay, talking about PlanetWatch.io, I should maybe stress once again, because some people seem unaware of it, that we do have 2 websites. One is on the domain PlanetWatch.io, the other one is on PlanetWatch.us. The former caters essentially for European countries, and the latter caters for the rest of the world. So not just US, but really the rest of the world. So this batch of Arduino, which was only for Europe, licenses which qualify for the waiting list were sold on PlanetWatch.io. As soon as Arduinos are available for other countries, in particular the US, then license selling order on PlanetWatch.us will determine the waiting list. Okay. So again, questions about the next batch following what we announced for July and August. Sorry, there is some noise from the street. Yeah, one day we'll be measuring city noise as well. So we announced a batch for July and a batch for August. What about the next batch? It could come as early as October, I believe. 2 more specific questions for Arduino. Does Arduino come with warranty against lightning strike? Honest answer, I don't know. I'll ask the manufacturer, because once again, we are not a manufacturer, so we don't supply a guarantee and after-sale service for this system. We are only responsible for the connectivity and the rewards part of it. Somebody asked me whether on PlanetWatch.us will be possible to buy Type 1 licenses before the Type 1 sensors are available in the US. Well, the answer is yes, that is already possible. So you can buy on PlanetWatch.us a Type 1 license, and that qualifies for the waiting list whenever Arduinos are available for the USA. Okay, that was selection of questions about Arduino. Then we have questions about Type 2 sensors. So Type 2 is outdoor consumer-grade sensors. The system that we approved a few months ago was Ariana, was a very popular system. At the moment, that system is no longer available. We are working together with a manufacturer to deliver a new Type 2 system, which will be as nice as Ariana, but in addition, it will have a GPS device, which is important from our point of view, and that should come in the fall. Type 3 sensor. So as you know, we recently approved for indoor use, so Type 3 use, a device from a company called Kythera. And there were lots of questions about the pricing of the device, because we kind of pre-announced the price range that we expect to be able to sell for. Now, and many comments were related to the fact that if this device will have a final price in the region of 600 euros, in terms of mining the token, as they say, it doesn't look cost effective with respect to cheaper systems like Atmosphere Pro and blah, blah, blah. So can we change the reward system or anything? Okay, now I take this opportunity to explain a little bit what's behind the pricing of sensors when we sell them, and why do we sell some systems directly and we won't sell other systems. So when we deal with hardware, which is instrumental, of course, to our project, there are two scenarios. So scenario number one is the kind of Atmotube Pro scenario. So once we are on board the device, we decide it's good enough for PlanetWatch. Generally speaking, we don't want to get involved into the sales process. So we recommend that you buy from the manufacturer or from a third-party reseller that would ship, issue the warranty and everything. This is the preferred option for us because it doesn't commit PlanetWatch resources for low-value activities such as logistics and customs management. So we want to concentrate our resources on what we do best, as I said last time, and that's certainly not logistics. However, the downside of it is that if you sell from a third party, obviously we have no control on stock levels. So since we don't control the stock, PlanetWatch licenses cannot be used to mark your place on a waiting list in case of device shortage. So the good side of letting manufacturers sell devices to you is that we as PlanetWatch don't waste resources. However, we have no control on device shortage and waiting lists. So the other scenario, of course, is the one where we step in directly in the hardware sales process. So despite the fact that we don't really like to do it, we are going to do it whenever it's in the best interest of the project. And that, for example, was with Kythera. So what is this scenario? This means that we buy sensors in bulk. So we negotiate a very good price with a supplier and then resell it to you. So the advantage of this is that we have power to negotiate prices and reduce total cost of ownership for you guys, so pass you some savings. And the examples here are Arduino itself and Kythera. And also, since we own the stock, we can link licenses to places on waiting lists. So when this happens, we'll be setting up, as you've seen, license counters, which show whether or not you can get a device quickly if you buy a license, whether you are within the stock limit. So this is nice. I mean, people like this, but in terms of PlanetWatch, it's very much resource intensive. So we do it when it's necessary to do it. Again, the good side is that we have control, we can negotiate the price, we can try and reduce it as much as possible. However, we get involved into logistics and this kind of very difficult things, which is not our mission really. Okay, so, but let me say one more thing about the latter scenario. So when we sell directly to you, and incidentally, I can confirm that Kythera will be sold directly by PlanetWatch to PlanetWatchers. And the same goes for Arduino. So these two devices, current Type 1 and Type 3, we buy in bulk. We try to push the price as low as possible, and then you'll be able to buy directly on our websites. However, what's the issue with pricing? So bear in mind something which is very simple, that the total price that you pay for a device when you buy from us is composed of some baseline price, which is the money that goes to us. Okay. But on top of it, you have to pay tax. In Europe, it's called VAT, value-added tax. And incidentally, the rate depends on the country where you lived, which is some new feature as of July 1st, 2021, which complicates matters more, but never mind. And if you are outside Europe, there will be shipping costs, which can be significant, and custom charges. So this is one of the reasons why we cannot confirm today a uniform price for Kythera, for example, regardless of your location. We just can't. Because what we know is that if you're based in the European Union, we know how much taxes are, and we can absorb shipping costs. However, if you live in a faraway country, the shipping can be very expensive for us, and customs charges are close to unpredictable. So that is a complication indeed. That is not a nice feature. But coming back to the issue of how many planets you get versus the price you pay. Okay, let me give you a few elements of information. First of all, we are still trying to push the price down for Kythera. And you know that for Arduino, we got an excellent price that you cannot find anywhere else on the planet for that system. So we are trying to reduce margin as possible for Kythera, and we'll keep you posted about that. The other thing you should bear in mind is that these sensors are extremely reliable. So from the point of view of mining, if you want, are more reliable than Atmo tubes in the sense that once you have installed it properly, it's a system in a fixed location, and as long as internet works, it goes seamlessly. So there are good and bad sides if you compare Type 3 to Type 4. The other thing is that we haven't discussed it so far in some detail. There is a statement which is too cryptic probably on page 56 in the white paper under a section called Revenues from Data Access Sales. Incidentally, we are going to refurbish a little bit the white paper, so the key rules of the games, the figures will not change. However, there are a number of items which I think can be explained better, and we'll try to do it. And this is one of them. As soon as data will start to be monetized by PlanetWatch, people who own the sensors who are generating the data being monetized will be able to profit financially by this, because a fraction of the token revenues generated by the devices will come back to sensor owners. And this is, again, as I said, this is written on page 56, but it's not clear enough. We'll make it more clear. So, I mean, if you look at participating in PlanetWatch in terms of a token revenue, which I don't recommend taking this perspective because it's a very narrow perspective with respect to what we are doing. Still, if you want to look that way, bear in mind that there are nominal rates, token rates that you earn for your streams, and then there are a number of factors, including, well, saturation point, but not just that, the number of the reliability of the sensor and of the setting, and the chance of getting the data monetized. So price is not everything, let me put it this way. But again, price is important, and we'll give you an update on prices as soon as possible. Okay, that was a long digression. And maybe I should get back to specific sensor specifics. So there were questions about Type 4 Atmo tube. And okay, let me have. Okay, there's a little update about Atmo tube, which is sold out worldwide, and it's our fault, let me tell you. But it's our fault in a good way. I mean, you were exceptionally interested in Atmo tube Pro, and that was even a surprise for Atmo tube itself, probably. So the devices went sold out. So there are a couple of good news. We, as PlanetWatch, have some stock on our own of Atmo tube Slow. We have a batch of 200 Atmo tube Pros, which will be sold by us directly as soon as possible, probably 50% on planetwatch.us and 50% planet.io. When? It's a matter, again, of logistics, unfortunately, and we're getting it shipped to Amazon, who will do the logistics for us because it's the simplest and most cost-effective way to do it. So, a few weeks from now. Plus, I just got a WhatsApp update from Atmotube, the company itself, and they're about to manufacture new batches of devices, and that will be shipped to their warehouses. And the bottom line is that by the end of August, there should be more stock available directly from Atmotube. So that will come soon. Okay, that was my section on questions on specifics of sensors. Then there are other sensor-related questions which are more general, related to the rules of PlanetWatch. One typical question is, can you have one of each sensor type in your home? Okay, the answer is yes. The reason, which could surprise somebody, the reason is that cross-checking, for example, what a Type 3 and a Type 4 sensor measure for PM2.5 is useful to us because it allows to benchmark sensor performance one against the other, and this is useful. So as long as things are useful, there is no reason not to allow them. So what is not allowed is, for example, to have 2 or more Type 3 sensors in the same house. Okay, you might tell us you own a castle and so it makes sense, but please, for the time being, refrain from doing this. So Type 3, say 1 per household. Okay. So, one question was about, there are just a few manufacturers, a few approved sensors around the PlanetWatch. Why don't you expand the number of manufacturers for a given sensor type? It would encourage competition with the manufacturers, possibly lower the cost of sensor. Yes, absolutely, it's true. However, we have to strike a balance between giving you as wide a choice as possible and do not compromise on data quality. So we have to check very carefully data quality, and we have to make sure that data can actually be streamed efficiently with PlanetWatch. So there are a number of API checks to be performed, and so the whole process takes some time. But of course, we do want to have several approved sensors for each type. Okay, so moving away from sensors and getting into the realm of actual token matters, there are a few very important questions. So one of the recurrent questions is, are you planning to use DEXs, so liquidity pools and all the tools of DeFi? And what is the timeline for Planet's token to be listed on a US exchange? So again, I'm going to be very straight with you. We are working on both directions. So on one hand, we are talking to a centralized exchange, which can be used by US people. On the other hand, we are working to set up, to leverage DeFi, let me put it this way. And again, it's a bit too early to disclose the details, but we're working on both, and DEX could possibly come faster. I will keep you posted. Okay, then there were a number of questions related to making sure that we don't change the daily rates for planets earned by type 2 sensors, type 3 sensors. Okay, let me make it clear, very clear. We published a white paper. Some sections are not well written and we might rewrite them, but we're not going to change the figures. If we do, it will only be in your favor, but we are not going to just lower rates or change them arbitrarily, okay? So the numbers are the numbers in the white paper, we won't touch them. What could happen, and that would be in your favor, is that PlanetWatch as a company, so we have a bag of tokens that belong to the company, which is completely separate by the tokens which are earmarked for the rewards budget. If you read the white paper, you will see what I mean. One thing is the rewards budget, the annual rewards budget, which is fixed. And one thing is the fact that when we issue rewards, 20% of the tokens come back to us. We kind of tax you, right? So that tax makes a bag for us, and in principle, we own that bag and we can do whatever we want with that, right? So it might happen that we as a company decide to give you additional bonus tokens out of our own pockets if we feel that some action or specific sensor deployment has high priority in the network. So this is not a promise, and whenever we will do it, we will spell out the rules and we could withdraw it later. But I mean, it might happen that if we feel that it's very important to kickstart some specific type of monitoring, we might say, okay, this qualifies obviously for the default rewards as per white paper. On top of it, we will be paying you some bonus tokens for the first 3 months, just making it up. It's not a promise. When this will happen, it will be spelled out very clearly. So, as you say, we are more into giving you more than 80% than less, okay? Right, okay, now it comes to a very important question. There are a couple of very critical questions, which, to be honest with you, it's not easy to answer in full, but I'll try. So somebody has, of course, pointed out the fact that we have decided that on PlanetWatch.io, which means for European Planet Watchers, planets are the only payment methods. So we have removed fiat-based payments for Europe. And as somebody points out correctly, this has some pros and some cons. So it's a difficult decision. So the pros is that, of course, this facilitates and pushes the adoption of our Planet token. It favors circulation of the Planet token, which is good, and it's instrumental to the health of the project at large. The cons, of course, is that some people, even in Europe, so could in principle access Bitfinex, would hardly understand the process of procuring tokens and then make token payments to us. So the crypto guys would grab it fast, and the non-crypto guy, who are a crucial audience, of course, that we want to bring into PlanetWatch, will struggle with that. So some people say, hey, you should really get back into fiat, and because otherwise you won't onboard all the people you need to onboard. Other people say, hey, no, you're doing great. That's the right move because it's important to boost adoption of planets. And to be honest with you, it's not a very clear, it's a difficult decision to make. So our perception at the moment is that it's better to insist on this payment system, so planets only in Europe, rather than changing again, because we did change already when we realized we had given too short a notice for the change. So for the time being, we will stick to this system, and according to this system, I will encourage all the people who hold the Type 1 license in Europe to procure the planets they will need to pay for the sensor, because Arduinos will be payable in planets. As I said, this is something we are monitoring and thinking about it, but you should not count on a reversal of this, because it's unlikely that we will change this. So please get your planets ready to buy the Arduino if you qualify for doing that. Okay, so then we have a number of, I'm still not even halfway in the question list, so hope I survive till the very end. Anyway, yeah, let's move to the next one in kind of random order. Somebody made a very detailed example of installation, Type 1 sensor installation scenario, and then moving the sensor to a different pixel, and then somebody else comes into the pixel, and blah, blah, and asking which one would be lead sensor. Now, I'm not going to go into the details of the case study which was proposed. I claim that the answer to the question is fairly clear if you read the white paper carefully. So the bottom line is that as a Type 1 sensor owner, you can get the 100 points bonus only once, and you can get it only in a pixel where you are the first to install. So, okay, let's not get into the details. And I believe that if you read carefully the white paper, all questions can be answered just by reading the white paper. And if not, of course, you can open a ticket and we can discuss further. But I believe the logic of it was fairly solid, and there should not be flaws into it. Okay, then I got a question where the answer is very direct and important. So somebody asked, can we loan planets with interest to buy sensors and licenses? Now, let me be very clear. For compliant reasons, PlanetWatch as a company cannot in any way get involved in financial transactions involving planets and individual users. So you own the planets, you can do what you want with them. Just beware of scammers. People promise you to give you things if you send planets first and stuff like that. And also make sure you comply with all the laws and regulations applicable in your jurisdiction. So planets are yours. Just be careful not to get scammed and not to get into strange situations. Also, somebody asked about PlanetWatch providing tax calculators. Okay, that's exactly something that we'll never do, because as you know, tax matters are highly personal, depend on who you are, where you live, and everything. So it's not really something where PlanetWatch will ever get involved. Okay, I see a question about, can you explain in layman terms how network saturation will impact rewards, if at all? So you guys see that the network is growing very, very fast, which is great. So these special numbers which were named saturation points might be hit fairly soon. So, okay, that's a legitimate question. So what's this thing about saturation? It means the following, that when we attain a certain number of sensors in each type, the annual reward budget, which has been set from the start, currently is about 500 million token per year, all in all, may not suffice to award max rewards to sensors which in principle deliver all the required streams and would qualify for max rewards. So you have a pie, and when you get to a large number of sensors, you have to slice it thinner. However, there is a mechanism which helps mitigate this, which is called the recycling bin. So there will be some extra tokens available to beef up the pie and keep slices as big as possible. Okay, this is just words, So based on words, I mean, we do expect that max rewards will still be available for some time, even after the nominal saturation point is attained. However, we cannot guarantee anything on this because it's very hard to make any numerical forecast. So we cannot, there's no point in speculating for how long we will keep the max rewards after we hit saturation, when we hit saturation. Sorry, we cannot do that. I mean, you should just bear in mind that the rules are spelled out in a white paper. If the project is successful, again, I don't speculate about the price of the token, but just bear in mind that the total token supply is fixed. So if the project is valuable, you're not going to lose out just because saturation takes place, right? Okay, I hope I've been clear enough. Okay, and then comes my favorite and I believe the most important question in the whole of PlanetWatch arena: the value of data. So the question is, who might possibly be interested to buy our data, whether it's only governmental entities or even commercial companies or whoever else? And do you have actual demand for this? This is it's difficult, but it's a great question, because once again, we are not doing all this for fun, just to airdrop tokens around. We are doing this because we believe that PlanetWatch is a clever way to gather high-value environmental data, big green data, as we like to call them. If this is not true, then the whole thing is a bit of a game. But we're not playing games here. So it is very legitimate to ask who is going to buy data from us. But I will give you an answer to this. But I will start with something which I'm very proud of, I must say, and that's the following. So in order to prove that data have a market value, you first have to prove that data are scientifically sound, because otherwise they won't have any market value. And a few days ago, a first publication on a scientific magazine was published, which features PlanetWatch researchers together with researchers from the University of Bologna as authors. So that reports on a study of indoor air quality in a high-profile hotel based in Turin, in the north of Italy. And again, the PlanetWatch data and methods and sensors were the source of the data for this study. And this is a preliminary step to market validation. So if a university wants to collaborate with us, make a study based on our own data, it means that our data are sound, innovative, and relevant. So that's that's a milestone. It's very important to me. And this is about indoor air quality. So as you know, we are not just involved with indoor air quality. We do indoor, outdoors, and we also do something even more sophisticated with wearable sensors. So talking about market validation indoors, I can tell you that this is scientific validation of our methods. Market validation is also there because the hotel which is quoted in this study is a paying B2B customers. So they paid PlanetWatch to establish an air quality indoor monitoring system to check compliance with an international standard called RESET. So again, on the indoor side, B2B, let's call it, I'm very, very confident and proud of the fact that we have achieved market validation. So there are entities willing to pay for our data if you want to get to the bottom line of it. Okay, what about all the other things that we do? The other thing that we do is outdoor air quality, especially in a city context. Now, potential buyers for those data can be local government entities who are interested in better managing public health, as well as a number of companies. Some example of companies we are talking to are media companies like TV stations who want to be able to supply real-time data feed on their websites of local, hyper-local air quality information for residents who are interested in this. Makers of fitness-related apps, because when you go jogging, when you go walking with your kids, you are interested in information about the quality of the air you're breathing. You want a healthy experience altogether. So environmental data are relevant for these app developers. We are talking then to, I cannot disclose it, but we are talking to a huge company in the mapping and mobility arena, which has just announced that they want to put an air quality layer on top of their mapping apps. And we are trying to convince them, sure enough, that our data, our air quality data, are the perfect match for their app. Last but not least, we are talking to the mayors of a number of very important cities, including a very large one in the USA. And if things move ahead, you'll be the first to know. So again, for indoor services, there is a B2B segment where we have already direct market validation. We are paying customers. For outdoor air quality services, we are talking to a number of interested parties. We have not sold the service yet to any relevant customer. We have some pilots, but small things. Indoor data for consumers, which we'll get via Kytera, can open the way to very interesting studies, because as I mentioned in my post, the sensors that we are offering you are compliant with an international standard called RESET, which means that you can compare directly data from all these type of sensors across the world. And we believe we can build very relevant data products out of this data. Again, by preserving your privacy, because as you know, we never disclose individual sensor locations or data, because that would not make sense. It's always going to be aggregate and statistical, but even so, it can be very relevant and very interesting for a number of players. Okay, so let's see if I can move on. Okay, then there are questions which are too difficult to answer, like how many sensors are you looking to have in the network by 2025? Well, first of all, I'm hoping to be alive in 2025, and I wish you same to all you guys. So the answer is who knows? I mean, seriously, the project is growing very, very fast. At the moment, the bottleneck is related to sensor availability, which is not a PlanetWatch issue, but as you know, also from other IoT projects, it's a global issue. We are doing our best to secure supplies for you guys. So, but it's very hard to do a forecast of a 4-year interval for this kind of project. So let's not do it. Some questions about the tools and technology and user support services, which we are doing our best to improve fast. So there were questions asking to create a forum with the sections for FAQ, bugs, enhancement. So as you know, as of Monday, we set up a Discord server, and there are a few people who have done a huge, wonderful work to fill it with very useful information. These people are mods on Discord and Telegram, but they're not just mods. I mean, they are great Planet Watchers who are putting very valuable time and effort into supporting all the users. On top of this, I think it makes sense, and we'll do it soon, to set up a Telegram channel for official announcements. Somebody's asking about the new app. As I said, there will be very soon a blog post, and the app is almost ready. There will be a short internal testing period, and then it's going to be released, and it's going to, I believe, solve a number of bugs that have been reported. And talking about bugs and talking about changes, some people were fairly unhappy by the fact that we made some changes in to the way we write transactions and data on the blockchain with very short notice. Okay, we'll do our best to give you larger notice when we do any changes which you might notice. That's fair enough, absolutely. Bear in mind that we are a startup. We are we're trying to be fast and furious and accurate at the same time, and sometimes you cannot put everything together. Anyway, that person referred to the fact that we recently changed the frequency of blockchain transactions, and ideally we should have announced it well ahead of implementing. So let me explain what we did and why. Up until a few days ago, we were posting roughly 700,000 blockchain transactions in a single day, which is great. It's a great KPI. It made us the leader in Algorand blockchain usage in terms of raw volume of transactions. However, as most of you know, there is a substantial cost involved in this. So each transaction, 1,000 transaction costs one algo. So we're paying about 20,000 algos per month just to cover transaction fees. So it makes a lot of sense to optimize the way we write data on the blockchain and to reduce that cost so we can have more resources for the project, get an extra developer. So it's great to be on Algorand. We have a great relationship with Algorand, but of course we have to keep our budget under control. So we found a way to do it. We implemented it quickly, and we should have given you more advanced notice before doing this, because once again, the way we write data on the blockchain has changed, but the actual rewards for PlanetWatchers are strictly the same. It's still based on all the parameters in the white paper. Okay, one question to be answered straight away. Somebody asked, can we buy or sell used type 1, 2, 4, 3, 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4 sensors? Okay, you own the sensor, you can do what you want. We don't recommend you do this if it's in the spirit of somebody getting a sensor, second-hand sensor, and earning planets. We won't recommend you do it because at the moment, rewards would not move automatically to the buyer's account. We are not yet ready for these kind of things, so it won't happen automatically. It might be a risky process, so please don't do that unless you just want to get rid of the hardware and your buyer doesn't care about PlanetWatch, but that's a special case, I guess. Okay, we discussed last time the partnership with Emrit, and I believe I gave a good explanation, or at least a full explanation of why we do it and what we do with them. But I had additional questions, so I'll let me come back for a second on this. So there is a question about what about the partnership with Emrit? I hope Emrit doesn't do deals like they did with Helium because there were some problems and blah, blah, blah. So let's be very down to earth. I believe we already proved, and I think I discussed this in the last AMA, that we won't let anybody monopolize PlanetWatch. And what does this mean? It means that, as you know, we secured a large stock of Type 1 sensors for direct sales to PlanetWatchers. These are the 550 plus 200 scheduled for July and August. So this was not given to a third party. It's up for you guys, and we sold the licenses because of that. So Emrit is a company which has their own business model and community. That community, broadly speaking, is happy to earn fewer tokens than by owning the device directly, the router directly, by getting free hardware. So Emrit has a community. They are offering a deal. There are lots of people who are happy with the deal they offer, so I see nothing wrong with that. So as long as their business model and their community can comply with the rules of our white paper, which is the case, I believe the partnership is beneficial to PlanetWatch. Again, the idea is that everybody is welcome in PlanetWatch as long as they can live with our rules. We're not going to bend or change our rules. But if you like our system and you want to join and you do it in a very transparent way, you are helping us to grow. Let me be a bit tough for a second. So I'm talking about complying with the rules. Okay, our rules is not just about the number of tokens, and they're just not technical standards. The rules that I have in mind also reflect our human values. So they include behavioral rules, okay? So to me, polite and respectful behavior is required in all our social channels and all our interactions. So I'm asking the mods to be vigilant and warn, or possibly ban in extreme cases, people who breach these rules. So if you engage in aggressive or derogatory or rude behavior on our social channel, you might get banned, because it's not just about the tokens. It's about being a planet watcher who is a person who cares for the environment and who cares for other human beings and respects both the environment and all human beings. I hope this is clear. I don't mean to play master or or parent, but I really feel strongly about it, so I wanted to say that. Okay, back to, well, more questions. When will governance points go into effect? Again, as you know, in the PlanetWatch, we have some there is some mention of governance rules. We are not going to pretend that PlanetWatch is a fully decentralized project because it's not true. However, we want to decentralize some governance aspects. I believe realistically, this could come into effect before the end of 2021. One example of decisions that could be submitted to the community could be the onboarding of sensors for other environmental verticals. So as you know, the name of this project is PlanetWatch, it's not AirWatch, which means that at some point when we are ready, we are keen to monitor other features in our environment, including, for example, water quality. But of course, if we include water quality into our ecosystem, this is a fairly important change in the project. Sensors will have to be classified according to our type 1 to 4 classification, which may not be flexible enough for some sensors. So this is something that we will not just implement overnight without talking to anybody. This is something which I believe is worth discussing with the community and possibly submitting to some feedback. Okay, then I got a question which I didn't fully understand. I mean, somebody was asking whether we had any plans on using IoT sensors. So maybe I'm too ignorant, but based on my own definition of IoT, we are using IoT sensors. For example, think of Arduinos, which autonomously connect and stream data to the internet. To me, that's IoT, but maybe I'm missing something. Is the current number of sold sensors, the information about these figures, is it for public viewing, and how often is it updated? So again, one of the tools that we are about to release is a new public dashboard coming soon, where you will be able to see all these figures, because there's no reason to conceal them, obviously. Any plans to expand on LoRaWAN technology versus Bluetooth? Again, it might happen that we onboard sensors with LoRaWAN technology. Why not? And again, other people are asking very explicitly about synergies with Helium, the Helium network. Let me say that we are already, to some extent, doing synergies because, as you know, Embrit is involved both in PlanetWatch and the Helium network project, so they are already leveraging some synergies. Once again, there's nothing wrong with that, as far as I can tell. Helium network is a great project. We are a great project as well. So why not? As long as all the rules are spelled out, synergies can only be beneficial. Okay, we are getting to the end of my list of questions, maybe. Another big, important question: what is next on the horizon? As someone could remember, sorry, there is some traffic here. I promise we'll release a roadmap by the end of July, and we will. Broadly speaking, our priorities at the moment are ensure global availability of air quality sensors for all the types, ensure worldwide availability of Planet's tokens, subject to compliance in all jurisdictions, so it means DEX or centralized exchanges, and working on it. Develop, that's key, business-grade data products, both for outdoor and indoor air quality data, to achieve full market validation, and let, eventually, PlanetWatchers achieve additional benefits for owning the sensors, which stream meaningful data. So, as I say, we want to develop industry-grade data products based on data, crowdsourced data, and if and when this data are monetized, those who produce the data through the sensors will reap some benefits in terms of tokens. And the last thing on this pseudo roadmap would be that at some point, when the time is right, we will explore additional environmental vertical markets, such as, for example, water quality monitoring, and there are other markets which look very interesting to us. Okay, then there are organizational suggestions to show the list of previously submitted questions so they can be upvoted instead of repeated. And okay, there are lots of very sensible suggestions, and we will read them through and try to implement as much as possible. Okay, again about Arduinos, when will I be able to buy my Arduino? as I said, there is a July batch which was promised for July, and I'm fairly confident that by the end of the month we'll be able to open sales. I wish we'd been even faster than this, but it's a difficult job. It depends on many players, so we're doing our best, but it's coming very soon. Somebody from Serbia said that since Serbia is not a member of the European Union, the SIM card that is in the Arduino might not work or generate costs or other. I believe that the SIM card that we put in the Arduinos and we pay for, it will work flawlessly worldwide. Well, not worldwide because Arduino is only for Europe now, but I mean it will work. So I believe it will work in Serbia. If it didn't work in Serbia, we would of course replace it or cover the cost, but I believe it will. So this AMA is being recorded. There will be a blog post summarizing the key points, so don't worry if you missed the live stream. Will the price change of licenses be announced much earlier than taking effect? Yes. Again, we don't like to change things overnight. We're not going to do it when it involves financial aspects in particular, so yes. Someone is asking what happens if I have an Atmo tube and my neighbor has one as well. Nothing happens, that's fine. So neighbors are okay. Yeah, that's it. As long as it's a neighbor and it's not in your own household, that you have multiple Atmo tubes which are static and in the same spot all the time. I said last time, if you have two Atmo tubes in the household, and most of the time they are apart from each other because people carry them and go places, that's fine. Maybe I'm getting to the end of it, let's see. Okay, questions about type 2. Well, I already mentioned that we're working to get a good type 2 sensor with a solar panel out in the fall. There was also an interesting question about mobility. I mean, taking data from incentivizing Atmo 2 Pro, which move a lot. Okay, that's on one hand, that's interesting because if a sensor moves a lot, it can sweep the territory in a very efficient way. So it will be cool on one hand. On the other hand, we are being very rigorous on the science side, and taking data from a moving sensor is not the same thing as taking data from a static sensor. So we want to get it right, and maybe further on we will, come back to this subject. Ooh, it's almost 1 hour. It's gone. So that is, I believe I've been through close to the list of all the questions. If there were questions submitted at the very last moment, I might have missed them, but we will get back to this. As I said, I'm doing my best to set up a weekly recurrent AMA session every week at the same time. So on Wednesdays, 6 p.m. CET, and doing my best to give you every week some interesting update and answering all your questions. So again, we are doing our best. We are doing a lot. We are going to deliver a lot in the coming weeks. And I hope you are happy with being a Planet Watcher. I hope you can be somewhat tolerant of some delays. Keep bearing in mind that this company is growing very, very fast. At some point, we will also release some corporate news. We have investors who are quite interested in helping us grow even faster. But these processes are delicate. You have to get it right. So we're doing our best. So I really hope you're enjoying your PlanetWatch experience, that you are keen to support us to grow even faster. I'm very proud of the fact that our community is growing very fast, and your support is what is enabling us not only to gain some visibility on the media and some negotiating power with manufacturers, but also to create a body of data which are relevant and will have market value in the coming months. Some of them already have market value, but we still need to build, of course, a critical mass of data for most of our use cases. So keep it up, keep watching the planet, and help us grow even faster. And I think we will all be happy, and we will all be doing something useful for the planet. Thank you. Have a great night. Bye-bye.